Hi, this is Angelo John Lewis for the Sacred Inclusion Network, and I'm here with Asha Pandey-Smith Anuradha Dasi,
Longing.
who is facilitating our June 15th, 11 a.m. exploration that we're calling the Summer of Love, which we've billed as a unique exploration of love, devotion, and self-awareness through the enlightening practice of Bhakti Yoga and Kirtan. Um, Asha is uniquely qualified to facilitate this, excuse me, this exploration. She was born and raised in a Gadaya Bhakti yoga tradition in a Kirtan focused family. As you may see on Saturday, she also is a percussionist. She plays something called the Mridanga, which is a clay drum from West Bengal, which is used in the Kirtan tradition. And in addition to when she's not doing her kirtan thing, she's a physical therapist and practices a range of holistic health practices with her clients.
Mhm.
Asha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Angelo.
I think we need to start with the basics. Everybody, when people hear the word yoga, they think of hatha yoga and they think of
Mm.
physical postures. But as you know, there's many different forms of yoga. And the
Hmm.
one that you have expertise in is called Bhakti Yoga. I wonder if you could
Yes.
give me an explanation of what that is and just how it is and what practitioners do.
Yeah, so bhakti is really where the internal work begins. We talk about mindfulness, we talk about meditation, but then what's sort of the goal of all of that? And how deep does that actually go? Mindfulness meditation, it can maybe control the mind a little bit, but sometimes the mind is deemed as very uncontrollable and very wild in its thoughts. So, bhakti, the practice of bhakti, in addition to the other elements of yoga from the internal process, such as gyan or the yoga of knowledge, and then karma yoga, the yoga of action, which are basically culminated in the Bhagavad Gita, and house the central focus, which is bhakti, which is sandwiched in the middle six chapters of that song of the divine, is basically how one can not just control the mind. That's an aspect of it, but now bhakti is really where you're diving head into the soul. Now we're actually talking about the consciousness of the soul, the function of the soul, the constitutional nature and position of the soul, and where essentially the goal is. Where's the soul meant to go? What is the soul meant to do? And what it can connect to. So, in a nutshell, bhakti is, the yoga of love. It's the yoga of loving devotional service. And that loving devotional service is really done to the source of ourselves, which is the source of love with a capital L. And that source of love with a capital L is, to some, it's the divine, to some, it's God, to some, it's Krishna. Um, for us in the Bhakti tradition, we call that particular form of the divine as Krishna, which just means the all attractive.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not as versed in it as you are, obviously. When I hear bhakti, I hear love, and
mm,
when I think of um, you kind of pointed out yourself. When I think of meditative practice, you're primarily talking about the mind. You're primarily
yes.
talking about controlling or at least not being controlled by the mind or something like that. But there's very little emphasis really on heart or love, and at least that's my impression.
Absolutely. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, it talks about where the soul is housed. It's so infinitesimally small that no one can discover it. Like it's not discoverable by the mundane senses, by the mundane eye. No one can surgically remove the soul, but it's said to be in the heart. And
Mhm.
there's a reason for why that is because of the nature of love. And so the heart houses the soul, but yet the soul is meant to be realized. through this practice of yoga, and specifically Bhakti yoga, which is a very direct process.
So, I wonder if you would tell me a little bit about your childhood. I said in the outset that you were raised in the Gaudiya Bhakti tradition. How has
Mhm.
that background shaped you? In your approach to life, your work, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely credit that to my mother. She's the one who pretty much single-handedly raised me in this practice of the Gaudiya tradition or Bhakti tradition, and it became the centerfold of everything that I did. It's not so much of like, okay, well, we're gonna just focus on school, and then on Sundays we're gonna go to our place of worship and things. Yes, we did do that, but then there was a lot of internal work that we also did. A lot of, singing, a lot of drumming, which was the kirtan part, also offering certain paraphernalia. We have deities. Um, there's fasting days, there's so many different elements. It's Bhakti is really pleasing to all of the senses and attractive to all of the senses. So it was just sort of like a boatload of really ever fresh things, even if those things were repetitive and day to day, or even like year to year, month to month. But it's one of those paths and processes that you don't get tired. I think for some people who may practice this and they get maybe a little overwhelmed is because they become really impatient and hopeless. Why am I not achieving my results? I've been meditating for 25 years, 30 years, and now I have nothing to show for it. And Bhakti really does bring about a level of humility and patience and tolerance and ultimately a determination that what I'm doing is actively reciprocating with me. It's not a dry process. It's not a speculative thing. So I think for me, it really did hone in pretty much my everything. How I speak, how I deal with my patients, but just people in general. And just how I present myself to the world, how I also try to stay present within my day to day, my moment to moment, how every day is really, those like cliche sayings, like life is meant to be, lived and also learned. And, a life without learning is the life not lived at all type of thing. So it's just a lot of those elements really became very practical for me in this path. So um, ultimately, it just boils down to everything that my mom and who I have to just say that it's not like my mom like intentionally she's structured like, okay, at 5 I'm going to do this, and then at 6 and 7 I'm going to learn how to do this, and as a part of Bhakti, like she was also growing in her Bhakti path, and she wanted me to also grow in it as well. And so obviously being that she's a mom, she's ahead of me, but she created such a nurturing background that I didn't feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel like I was, missing out on something, or that I had to change up life. I had to change up life so drastically that I couldn't participate in school activities or recreational activities. Like she kept it in such a way that I could easily blend and marry two wholly different lives of myself, and really just make it a beautiful experience, a beautiful childhood. So I credit that to her.
We should talk a little bit about kirtan, which is
Mhm,
some of the people who live in the Philadelphia area. That's what they know you of. You do a lot of kirtan events, and part of our event will be about kirtan. Tell us a little
mhm.
bit about maybe what it is, and why it's important to you, what you get out of it. Maybe some people in this that listen to this have never heard of it.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, kirtan is basically a call and response experience between a singer and an audience, a community. Um, but if I were to really overly simplify it, then it's almost like it's a concert, but it's a concert for the divine. It's something where we are actively engaging in it as a community, but it's not focused on us. It's like we're the one thing that is not focused on us. It's focused on the names that you're singing, the Vedic chants, the mantras that you're actually pronouncing and singing. And whether or not you know the meanings is not as important. Yes, I do go through an explanation, but kirtan is that musical mantra meditation, which allows us to really capture the nature of the soul. And through kirtan is how the soul is able to connect with the divine in that loving way. We talk about you know, like hallowed be thy name, from the Christian, the Lord's Prayer. So hallowed be thy name. I mean, that's kirtan. That's where we're constantly, it's a constant glorification of these holy names of the divine in a way that, yes, it's done with percussion, it's done with a harmonium, it's done with cymbals or kirtals for timing and things. But again, the focus is not so much on us, though we do as a byproduct get a lot of relaxation. It's a meditative experience. We feel joy, we feel excitement, we feel happiness. All of these different things pop up for us, but our focus and intention is a little different, as in the most ideal way. But yes, whenever I do these kirtans and yoga studios and things, and I always generally ask like how everyone is feeling. And people do respond. I feel a sense of relief. I feel a sense of peace. I feel like I'm home. I feel a sense of like joy, or that they feel like excitement, that wow, like that was a really like, energetic kirtan. Like I want to do more. Let's do more. So it is a very inclusive experience. All are welcome. It has nothing to do with caste, creed, color. There's no discrimination. It doesn't matter how good your voice sounds or even how bad. If you croak like a frog or if you sing like an angel, it does not matter. It's for everybody of all ages.
I was
So
thinking that what might people be familiar with if never experienced? The thing that which occurs to me is makes like Sufi dancing. Seem the same sort of intent.
mhm.
It's maybe it's more emphasis on dance and Sufi dance, but when I participated in Sufi thing, I hear lots of echoes in what you're talking about with kirtan with that.
Yeah, Sufi also does kirtan, Qawwali style, and it's beautiful. I mean, we have people in the Bhakti tradition who know people who practice Sufism or Sufism, and they do joint events, where the Sufis will sing their kirtans, and then the Bhaktas will sing ours, and we just
Mhm.
combine each other. So it is a beautiful experience.
So we're calling our exploration the yoga of love. I wonder if you could maybe give listeners just a taste as to what to expect, or what should they expect to take an hour and a half out of their Saturday to participate in this thing. Not putting you on the spot or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can sing a little bit. Generally we focus on one mantra, which is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Maha means great, Man means mind, Tra means to free the mind. The reason why this is known as the Maha Mantra is because it is sort of the mantra that contains all other mantras. There really is no need to chant any other mantra. But yes, some people have an inclination to chant other mantras, but this is the one that it's a summum bonum of everything, and it contains everything else. So, um, just a small snippet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there's so many different melodies, there's so many different tunes that you can use for the Mahamantra. Really expert kirtan singers, can do very fancy things. But generally, in the kirtan circles that I'm a part of, I keep things very simple and basic for everyone to follow, and just to create an inviting mood so that everyone can participate and feel free, just feel welcome.
Yeah, you said you didn't have to have a beautiful voice, but your demonstration kind of like detracted from that statement. But in any event,
Oh. Well, what I mean to say is, like it doesn't matter, is that, in other words, it doesn't matter. It just so happens that in this lifetime, by some good fortune, some karmic good fortune, that this is the voice that pops out, but it doesn't matter. So, and it's just a product of karma. I have no control over it. I am just utilizing it as an instrument to glorify the divine. So I even have no attachment to it.
oh, it's beautiful to listen to. That's all I was attempting to convey. So in any event, our exploration called Yoga of Love. It's on June 15th, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will put a description and a way to participate, to register in the show notes. Asha, I'm really looking forward to it, and
Same here.
I can use an infusion of love. I mean, who couldn't, right?
Yes, absolutely. In today's climate, 100%.
Indeed. All right, fantastic.
Sounds good. Thank you.